A man falls from a window. 1953. The official verdict, suicide. Case closed. Nothing to see here. The CIA slipped something in his drink. That changes everything. His name was Frank Olson, U.S. Army researcher. He served his country for almost 30 years and had no idea what was in that glass. He had just become a CIA test subject. No consent, no warning, no way out of what was already being done to him that evening. Within days, he was severely disturbed. They were taking him to New York for psychiatric evaluation. He never made it back home to his family. Olson was not the only one. Across America, hundreds of people had no idea they were inside a secret government program. None agreed to this. 80 institutions, universities, hospitals, federal prisons, all of them running hidden experiments on real Americans without their knowledge or consent of any kind whatsoever. The program was called MKUltra. Before you call it a conspiracy theory, this one is different. It is in the official congressional record, confirmed by Senate testimony, confirmed by declassified CIA files, confirmed by a presidential apology. This is not a rumor. This is documented American history. But here is what should stop you. If the program was shut down, why do its exact methods still appear in detention policy decades later? Everything we know survived by one clerical mistake. Someone filed top-secret records in the wrong cabinet. That error cracked open one of America's darkest chapters. San Francisco, 1953. Men were being brought into certain apartments across the city. Nobody told them this was a secret government intelligence operation. They were offered a drink, a friendly apartment, a relaxed evening. What they got was LSD with no warning and no consent from anyone. Behind that mirror, CIA operatives with notebooks. Operation Midnight Climax. They watched and recorded for years across 2 American cities. Nobody ever stopped it. Nobody was charged. Those men never knew they were in a federal program. The agents just drove home every single evening like ordinary Americans. And it was not just strangers. At a CIA retreat in Maryland, agents had LSD slipped right into their drinks. No warning at all. One agent bolted from the building in full panic. Another could not speak for hours. The CIA did this to their own people. On purpose. Minnesota, Georgia, Massachusetts. Same pattern every state. Institutions got funding. Researchers got clearance. Subjects got nothing. Not even the truth about what was happening. 80 institutions, 150 separate projects, all of them running at the same time, for 2 full decades. Think about that scale right now. At its peak, MKUltra consumed 6% of the CIA's entire operating budget. 6% is not a side project. That is an institutional priority. While America worried about Vietnam, the CIA ran mind control tests on its own citizens every night. Nobody passing that newsstand had any idea whatsoever. 20 years of total secrecy, no oversight, no judicial review, no accountability at all. A program this large running off the books in a democracy. When the people running it got nervous, they did not come clean. No press conference. They made a very different choice, with permanent consequences. Here is the surprising part. The CIA was not evil. They were scared. American POWs in Korea made confessions that looked coerced to everyone watching. The CIA believed Soviets had cracked mind control. MKUltra was America's panic response. Fear became a blank check that funded 20 years of human experiments. In Montreal, a psychiatrist named Donald Ewan Cameron ran experiments far beyond what the CIA approved. He was credentialed, respected, and fully funded by them. His patients came for ordinary help. Depression, anxiety, everyday struggles. They trusted him completely. He was a doctor at one of North America's top universities. Cameron called his method psychic driving. Recorded messages played on a continuous loop, 16 to 20 hours every day. The same phrases, over and over. On top of that, drug-induced sleep lasting entire weeks, electroconvulsive therapy far above any medical standard, and total sensory isolation from the outside world. Cameron's stated goal, de-pattern the human mind, erase all existing behavior, then repattern from scratch, Like a factory reset but on a living person, it did not work. Patients came in with depression and left unable to remember their names. She came for help. She went home a stranger. CIA money reached Cameron through a front group called the Society for the Investigation of Human Ecology. They knew. They kept sending the checks. 150 projects, 80 American institutions, 6% of the CIA budget, not a rogue scientist, an organized, funded, and officially protected government system. In 77, a CIA employee found 20,000 documents misfiled in a financial building. They survived the destruction order by accident. Nobody planned for it. In 73, CIA Director Helms ordered all MKUltra files destroyed. Most vanished. What we know today is literally just what someone forgot to shred. And here's where it gets really weird. Would a failed program get its paper trail burned on emergency orders? Think like a jury. Officially, everything was erased. But you cannot delete human memory. Survivors remembered. Families remembered. Some filing cabinets, as it turned out, quietly remembered too. So why did MKUltra even exist? Simplest explanation first. Ordinary Americans walked in seeking help for ordinary problems and trusted the people inside completely. Instead, they were put into experiments without consent. The goal, control human behavior under interrogation. The Manchurian Candidate was not fiction to the CIA. The CIA wanted an operative who could survive full interrogation without breaking. They spent 2 full decades chasing that goal and never got there. Some patients lost everything, not just memories but their sense of self. They walked in as people. They walked out as completely blank slates. Outside, scientists said it was impossible. You cannot reprogram a human mind with sound and electricity. The research was pseudoscience dressed in federal funding. But large bureaucracies develop their own momentum. Budgets get allocated. Careers get built around programs. Stopping a classified operation becomes politically complicated for everyone involved. No public results means no public metric. No metric means no accountability. A classified program with no measurable outcome is easiest to keep running forever. Now the second explanation gets uncomfortable. Look at what was documented at Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib. Sleep deprivation, sensory disorientation, sustained psychological pressure over time. The methods Cameron developed at McGill appeared again in official U.S. detention policy decades later. The Senate Intelligence Committee documented this in 2014. Same techniques, different name, different decade. Whether that is coincidence or direct institutional continuity, the full documentary record does not give a clean answer. But wait. If MKUltra truly failed, why burn the entire paper trail in 73? Failed programs get filed. Innocent ones don't get emergency destruction orders. Something in those files was worth destroying rather than defending. The real question is not what we know. It is what they deliberately buried. Frank Olson's family did not buy the verdict. His wife, his 3 kids, told it was suicide, told to grieve and move on. They tried. November 28, 1953. Frank Olson fell from the 13th floor of the Statler Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. Verdict, suicide. File closed the same week. In 94, his son Eric pushed for exhumation. Forensic anthropologist James Starrs led the examination, finding apparent blunt skull trauma predating the fall itself. The Manhattan DA opened a homicide investigation. It was never concluded. Case officially still open. Frank Olson's family never got a single explanation from anyone. How many were affected? Nobody knows. Estimates range from hundreds to thousands. Most had no idea. Most lived and died without ever finding out. Deliberate destruction of records in 73 means the full scope is permanently unknowable. We have fragments. What burned may have been the most significant part. Families who spent decades not knowing. Offices that stayed silent for years. These stories exist only because one set of documents survived one filing error. Officially, MKUltra achieved none of its goals. CIA position? It failed. Ended in 73. Belongs entirely to history. That statement has never once changed. Place Cameron's notes beside the Senate Intelligence Report on interrogation from 2014. The overlap is not vague at all. It is technically specific. The official story and the documentary record point in opposite directions. That gap is not accidental. Someone built it deliberately and kept it for decades. What if MKUltra is not a closed chapter? What if it is the foundation everything else was built upon? That question keeps serious historians awake. In '73, both MKUltra and MK Search were officially terminated. Both happened the exact same year Watergate exploded and Congress began examining the intelligence community. In August '77, the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence held formal hearings on MKUltra. Former CIA Director Stansfield Turner testified under oath before them. Senator Kennedy called it, quoting the congressional record, a disturbing demonstration of how a secret bureaucracy can completely escape all moral and legal constraints. Turner confirmed the program and its scope. He could not explain how it ran for 20 full years without a person in government stopping it. In '95, President Clinton issued a formal apology to survivors of government radiation experiments, many running in parallel with MKUltra under the same institutional framework. In 2010, Canada paid compensation to Cameron's victims at McGill, over 50 years later, only because survivors refused to stop fighting for it. The CIA has never paid compensation to MKUltra subjects or their families. Official position, program failed, ended in '73. It belongs entirely to history. Here is what the record confirms, undisputed. Between '53 and '73, the CIA ran covert experiments on American and Canadian civilians without any consent. No disclosure, full institutional support, subjects drugged and psychologically tortured. At least one died. A president later apologized. All of it is officially documented. Most evidence was intentionally destroyed. What survived did so by accident. MKUltra is not a theory, it is documented history. The facts are settled. The question it leaves open, not whether it happened. The question is what we cannot see because the files were burned and gone. Fire destroys paper, but not what was written on it. Somewhere between what was confirmed and what was burned, MKUltra's real history still lives. And whether the impulse behind MKUltra, the belief that controlling minds is worth any cost, ever truly ended, or whether it learned to stay invisible, the files were burned. The question stays open. What was in them? Leave your answer in the comments. Hit like and subscribe to Beyond Explained.